Good morning, all. Been doing a lot of work trying to think about how to teach about COVID-19. It's a really complicated subject, and it's important that we understand it because what's going on with COVID-19 is, interestingly enough, not really as much about the disease as it is a commentary on our human networks. So let's talk about the things that really make COVID-19 the force that it is in our global society. The first thing that really makes COVID-19 a problem is its universality. It's something that, since any of us can get it, it's a problem. And since any of us can transmit it to anybody else, that's a huge problem too. The next thing that makes it such a challenge is it has a very long incubation period, which means it can get in your body and it can be a very long time until you get sick. But once that thing is in your body, you can transmit it, you can give that disease to others. And that means, you have a very long time where you could be getting a lot of people sick and not even know. And those people wouldn't know they were getting sick for a long time either. Looks like there's some cases where it's 2 to 3 weeks before people actually become symptomatic, before they look and feel physically sick. And so that's another challenge with COVID-19. And the real thing that has been so disruptive to our civilization is that it has shown us that our networks are extremely well tuned. Now, what does that mean? Well, we have transportation networks and information networks. We have networks within our bodies, the blood network, the oxygen network, the hormone network. There's all sorts of things going on in our bodies that help us keep things going pretty stably. We call that homeostasis. Now, our transportation networks are so efficient that when I buy a candy bar at a local store, that information travels from that cash register through the network of the company all the way to the manufacturer, to the company, and the factory that makes those candy bars. So I buy something in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and instantly the company in Tallahassee, Florida, or in, Peking, China, these places instantly, or within a couple of seconds, know that they need to make another candy bar, in this metaphor, in this analogy. They need to make another candy bar in these factories. Yeah, so my purchase sets off this chain of reactions that go all the way back to the company that makes and the place that makes that candy bar. Now that's really amazing. That's really fantastic because that means we get our products on time, not too much, not too little. There's not a bunch of stuff waiting in storage to be bought. When we need it, we get it. That's amazing. That is a beautiful thing. It's so efficient that it caused the global pandemic to become a bigger problem. Now, how's that possible? Well, to understand that, we need to understand what networks actually are. And you may have heard the word network and be thinking about the internet, or you could be thinking about like the network television. And that's actually a good place to start. Networks are groups of connected parts. And those different parts all function together as one thing. So an example would be, well, a school system. You have your district people, and they do a bunch of things that tell the principals and assistant principals what to do, and those principals and assistant principals then tell their department chairs, and the department chairs then tell their teachers. And it goes on down, and this is network of connectivity, kind of like a network map when you're looking at the internet. And that's pretty neat. You're a network, in fact. You're a bunch of stuff that is working together in different ways. Your heart cells do one thing, your nerve cells do another, your stomach cells have another function. There's all these networks, these systems that co-operate. They don't cooperate. Well, they do cooperate, but they also co-operate. And these things come together in such a way that forms you. Now, you are much more complicated than a heart. And you are more complicated than a heart and a set of lungs put together. You are more complicated than a set of heart and lungs and pancreas and stomach and your big toe. All of these things come together in a way that is greater than the sum of its parts to create you, to create me. But that's not where it stops. It's not just these networks within us. We have networks that are happening right now. I am putting this information that came from a whole bunch of different sources into this video. This device I'm using here takes that information, sucks it in, orders it in a very specific way. It will then get uploaded to my computer. It will go from my computer through my Wi-Fi router, and it'll then go through a series of hubs throughout the city. It'll go into a server somewhere, maybe in Albuquerque. That server might be in Denver. It could be in El Paso. It could be in Juarez. That server will hold that information and allow you all to see it. That is a digital network. But so where does this end? I've got this physical meat suit that is me, right? But that meat suit is going through ones and zeros through this device, through the network, and it's making its way to your meat suit. And that's a bunch of networks. So my physical body is not there with you as you're watching this. However, my essence is, the information I'm communicating is. And that information I'm communicating came from dozens of books and hundreds of articles that I've read to understand all of this. That's pretty amazing what networks can do. And you start to realize this meat suit of our bodies isn't the extent of our lives. I'm going through space and time, recording this in December of 2020, and you might be watching this 50 years from now. It's cool. And so this idea that our bodies are limited to this meat suit, the first thing we have to really understand about living in the modern world is that I'm reproducing right now. No, I'm not having children right now. Ew. Children are great, but that would be gross. But I am reproducing. I am reproducing my ideas, which were reproduced from ideas that came from a bunch of other people. It came from, all these books and much, much more. And all these ideas, it's just reproduction, man. And that's another set of networks. Well, I digress. I get off the point. Networks, you need to know what those are. Next video will cover that.